requires a constitutional settlement.
President Kenyatta was speaking on Tuesday during the 11th Madaraka Day celebrations at the Gusii Stadium, Kisii County, as the country marked 57 years of independence, saying there is a need to change the current political practice where resources and opportunities exclusively goes to those occupying positions of power.
How do we as a people, as a nation, resolve the winner-take-all situation within a context of competitive politics as required by democratic practice?
Uhuru said premature campaigns and endless electioneering creates anxiety and warned the country that if there are no changes to the constitution, such problems will continuously affect the country. Uhuru's sentiments had been echoed by Raila Odinga, who during his speech said the Building Bridges Initiative BBI report was the only road to the constitutional change that the country requires. Odinga said that President Kenyatta will give direction on the BBI as Kenyans await its official handover to the president by the Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji-led select committee in due course.
That we must change direction. For 56 years we have followed one direction, but with not very many results. So we need to look at what else is there which is missing. The projects Kenya can move forward as envisioned by the founding fathers of our nation. United, God should bless us. We should dwell in unity, peace and liberty, and plenty should be found within our borders. Right? Kini sasa halftime imekwisha, wachezaji wameshanyoroshwa, wameshapata mafunzo, tena wamepata massaging, sasa wanarudi kwa kiwanja, Your Excellency. Wewe mwenyewe ndio utasema hiyo njia tunataka kufuata sasa kwa kutoka hapa.
However, Deputy President William Ruto, who spoke after Odinga, called on both Uhuru and Raila to include all Kenyans in the BBI. Ruto, whose allies have been opposing the document, said there is a need to bring everyone on board to ensure that the country realizes the much-needed unity before proposals by the BBI are implemented. Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV Newswatch.
The government has indicated that Huduma number cards are now ready for rollout to Kenyans. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i said the National Integrated Identity Management System (NIMS) process is now complete and is awaiting rollout after Parliament vets and approves the Data Commissioner. President Uhuru Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta were the first recipients of the sample Huduma cards, with the president saying the Huduma number will make it easier for Kenyans to access government services. Alice Diana has more details on this story.
Over a year ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta directed the commencement of the National Integrated Identity Management System (NIMS) under the National Security Project for every Kenyan to get a single identity, and today the process is complete. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, who spoke during Masjid Day celebrations at Gusii Stadium in Kisii County on Tuesday, said the ministry is now waiting for National Assembly to approve the appointment of Data Commissioner before rolling out the issuance of the cards to the public. President Uhuru Kenyatta already appointed Immaculate Kasait, the former director of Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC), for the position of the Data Commissioner, an appointment that is awaiting Parliament's vetting. Matiang'i, alongside Attorney General Paul Kihara, presented the sample Huduma card to President Uhuru Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta during the Masjid Day celebrations after the president's announcement.
Your Excellency, it's my pleasure now on behalf of my colleagues in the Interministerial Committee to report on this historic day that the process is now complete and we have actually developed the Huduma number, which we hope to be rolled out as soon as the National Assembly completes the process of the appointment of the Data Commissioner as directed by the High Court.
The brief ceremony saw Uhuru present 10 other samples of Huduma card numbers to locals for validation. Uhuru said the single identity card will see Kenyans have easy access to government services hence reduce long queues witnessed in government offices.
Tuko tayari kuanza sasa kupatia Wakenya kadi zao za huduma na ndio waweze kupata hizo huduma zao either online kwa njia rahisi, na ile laini kubwa tulikuwa tunapanga kila wakati katika maofisi ya serikali iishe, badala ya masaa ya kupanga laini mtu akitafuta huduma awe anaendelea na biashara yake, anafanya mambo yake pahali alipo na anapata huduma yake kupitia hiyo kadi.
Late last week, the president urged Kenyans to ignore rumors being spread regarding the National Integrated Identity Management System names, a statement he made during a cabinet meeting at the KWS Law Enforcement Academy in Manyani, Taita Taveta County. Deputy President William Ruto's allies had earlier this month alleged the system was being managed by a foreign firm, adding that there was a scheme to rig the 2022 elections.
Tunasikia kwa hii huduma namba wameleta wale wazungu wa kutoka nje ili wakuje wawasaidie kuiba, na tunajua sio pesa tu wanataka kuiba, pia wanapanga kuiba kura. Mtaitikia Hustler Nation tuibiwa kura?
Walikuja kwangu, walikagua na kuhesabu mpaka nguruwe na kuku zangu. Sasa wale wenye mabenki wanafanya nini na nguruwe na kuku zangu? Hiyo data ndio unasikia Paso Center wanatumia sasa kuiunganisha kuibia Wakenya hujuma nyingine venye watawaibia hii mambo ya referendum ambayo tunashinikizwa. And that is why we have maintained and we continue to maintain our priorities as a country should be economic recovery and how to put back the livelihoods of millions of Kenyans.
Mimi kama mjumbe nilipelekwa bahari, nikapigwa picha, nikawekewa curtain nyuma, nikakaa, nikapigwa picha. Ile huduma namba ambayo niliandikiwa karatasi yote ilipotea, sijui iko wapi. Na tumeambiwa wako wakora ambao wanakaa huko Runda, hao ndio wanafanya falsify ile data ambayo itawekwa kwa huduma namba.
Reporting for Hope TV News Watch, I'm Alice Diana.
Kenyans from all walks of life thronged Gusii Stadium in Kisii County for the 57th Masjid Day. Security was intensified at the Gusii Stadium as Kenyans filled the venue, with long queues extending to 9:30 a.m. Entertainment too was not left behind. Resongoi paints for us a picture of how the event happened.
Today marks the first public holiday to be celebrated since the coronavirus hit our borders. With it has come a myriad of measures to curb the spread of the virus, including social distancing measures and a donning of masks. In today's 11th Masjid Day celebrations led by President Uhuru Kenyatta at Gusii Stadium, a stadium that can hold a capacity of up to 25,000, only 3,500 people were allowed to allow for social distancing, with each of them properly putting on their masks. Residents checked in as early as 6 a.m. with long queues being witnessed outside the gates of Gusii Stadium, everyone trying to get in for space. President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived in pomp celebration, with residents turning out in large numbers to welcome him and the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta. His arrival was after a number of other Kenyan dignitaries had arrived, including Deputy President William Ruto, ODM party leader Raila Odinga, Kisii Governor James Ongwae, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, among others. Unlike many Shujaa celebrations that have occurred in the past, prayers were led in Gusii to celebrate the county's culture. Entertainment, just like is the norm, followed suit, with Gusii residents, one after the other, who had been allocated an entertainment slot, entertained the masses in music and dance. Those who took to the stage included Deputy President William Ruto, ODM party leader Raila Odinga, and Kisii Governor James Ongwae, all of whom with the common message of unifying of the Kenyan people despite the 43 tribes. However, Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga seemingly differed in their remarks regarding the controversial Building Bridges initiative.
For 56 years, you have followed one direction, but with not very many results. So we need to look at what else is there which is missing. The projects Kenya can move forward as envisioned by the founding fathers of our nation. United, God should bless us. We should dwell in unity, peace and liberty, and plenty should be found within our borders.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, on the other hand, addressing the nation, applauded Kenyans in the strides they have made in achieving nationhood, further calling on Kenyans to embrace peace and unity.
Tupendane, tushirikiane. Kushindana sio wadui. Matusi haijengi. Tunaweza. We can differ in terms of policies, in terms of programs. That is fine. But we don't have to differ to the point where we insult one another, where we shed blood of our own brothers and sisters because of what we want. No, we are here to serve. We are here to work together. We are here to respect one another. And if we respect each other, you will also be respected. So I want to say I am truly grateful. Nimefurahi sana kuwaona hapa mkija kuungana pamoja nasi na Wakenya wote pahali popote walipo kusherehekea siku hii ya mashujaa, na mimi natarajia kuendelea kufanya kazi pamoja nanyi na viongozi wote kwa niaba ya wananchi milioni 45 wa Kenya wazalendo.
Grace Angoi, Hope TV News Watch.
As the national-level Mashujaa Day celebrations were being marked at the Gusii Stadium in Kisii County, governors led their county administrations in marking the day in their respective counties as required by the Constitution. And as Patrobo Ojwang tells us, counties such as Meru, Busia, Mombasa and Bungoma led residents in marking this special day in Kenya's history.
The Kisumu City celebrations to mark Mashujaa Day were led by Kisumu Deputy Governor Matthews Owili and County Commissioner Josephine Ouko at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Recreational Center. In Nandi County, concern was raised over the delayed formation of the Restorative Justice Fund to compensate victims of past injustices, as a similar fete went on in Meru County led by Governor Kiraitu Murungi at Timau Stadium in Buri West Sub-County. Speaking during the commemoration of Koitalel Samoei, Nandi Governor Stephen Sang noted 6 years after the president issued the directive, no action has been taken to actualize the same. Governor Sospita Ojamong, who led celebrations in Busia County at Nambale Vocational Training Center, honored the healthcare workers for shrugging off a myriad of challenges to manage the spread of coronavirus COVID-19 in the county. Bungoma County Mashujaa Day celebrations were held in Matulo Girls Secondary School, Webuye West, and were led by Governor Wycliffe Wangamati. While in Kajiado County, they were held at the KCB grounds where Governor Joseph Olelenku called for a stop to divisive politics that threaten peaceful coexistence among Kenyans. Kwale County Mashujaa Day celebrations took place in Lunga Lunga Sub-County at Lunga Lunga Primary School, and they were led by Governor Salim Mvuria, while in Mombasa, Governor Ali Hassan Joho led the celebrations at the Mamangina Waterfront in Mvita Sub-County. Governor Stanley Kiptis led celebrations in Marigat High School in Baringo County. Patrobo Ojwang, Hope TV News Watch.
Kitui County Commissioner John Ondego has put on notice drug barons and traffickers using the newly built Kibwezi-Kitui Highway to evade police dragnet, saying surveillance has been heightened. Speaking during this year's 57th Mashujaa Day celebrations at the Kitui Stadium, Ondego said detectives have already intercepted 9 bags of bang weighing around 450 kilos that were on transit last month to an unknown destination. He also commented on the rising cases of teenage pregnancies in the county, where he warned pedophiles impregnating underage girls that they will face the full force of the law.
Tunashukuru serikali kwa kutuletea hii barabara ambayo imetoka Kibwezi Mutomo ikielekea Mbondoni kule. Tumepata visa vingi sana tena ya drugs imeanza kuingia kwa mambo ya bangi na kadhalika, imeanza kuingia kwa hii barabara na inakuja kwa kaunti yetu, na wale vijana ambao wanahusika basi mjue ya kwamba Majenu Komotoni, tutawasaka na tutawanasa, na ukinaswa ujue ya kwamba hata hiyo gari ambayo ilikuwa inasafirisha hiyo bangi itakuwa gari sasa la serikali. Hivi wale ambao wanapeana magari zao usiende sibebe hiyo, ujue ya kwamba hizo magari zenyu mtapoteza, na wale ambao wanahusika watachukuliwa hatua kali.
In the past, Kenyans were used to celebrating freedom fighters who shed blood to bring freedom in the country. However, things have been changing with time, with Kenyans now celebrating people who have made achievements that have impacted the society, social media taking the big chunk of the talk. Our reporter Mark Kimondo has compiled a report on how Kenyans took to social media platforms to celebrate their heroes and heroines.
Gusii Stadium at a normal capacity carries 25,000 people, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, only 3,500 people had the opportunity to stream into the stadium for Masjid Day celebrations. With this limitation, a number of Kenyans decided to take their celebrations to social media, a picture no different from other years. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp were the most used platforms by Kenyans in celebrating their heroes. Using the hashtag Shujawangu, Kenyans streamed to the social media to celebrate their heroes who have impacted their lives in various ways. Amina Radhman, who was captured helping a woman and her child when chaos broke out as police effected the dusk to dawn curfew a couple of months ago, appeared to be one of the most celebrated people, with netizens lauding her acts of generosity. Besides Amina, Kenyans also celebrated the healthcare workers who have been working tirelessly to save the lives of Kenyans amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Others honored marathon legend Eliud Kipchoge, who became the first person to run 42 kilometers in under 2 hours, with those on WhatsApp majorly honoring their family members. Steve Wamukota, 9-year-old and class 3 pupil who innovated a hand-washing machine, was one of the most celebrated children by Kenyans in the social media. Leaders who have brought tremendous change to Kenya's political, social and economic welfare were also not forgotten. Among those that were celebrated today include the Nairobi Metropolitan Services NMS Director Mohamed Badi, Alfred Mutua, among others. At the same time, a number of Kenyans used the same platform to criticize bad leadership in the country. Mark Kimondo for Hope TV.
That story takes us to our first commercial break on News Watch tonight. We shall be right back with more news items after these messages.
Are you looking to settle your family in an affordable, clean and serene environment? Look no further than Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. The project strategically sits between the Mua and Koma Hills, providing you with beautiful landscapes, fresh air and a much-needed break from the hustle and bustle of the city. The Garden of Joy also comes with a jogging track, a meditation park and a children's play area, making it the perfect location to set up your countryside home. Get your value-added plot at only 1.295 million shillings. We also have flexible payment options of up to 12 months. Call us today on 0702 8310 83 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Our Christian life is not just about God always stepping in when you are in trouble. But sometimes you need to go through the valley of the shadow of death, and God will say, angels, stand away. He must go through that. She must go through that. Because out of this would come something greater and more beautiful.
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship. Only on Extended Worship.
Member of Parliament Owen Baya has revealed that he once tested positive for COVID-19 and for a moment he felt that his days on earth were over. While giving his testimony about the experience in church, Baya called on the congregants and the people of Kilifi County to be cautious about the deadly virus and not to loosen the war against the virus. This follows concerns by Governor Emmerson Kingi over the rising number of new infections across Kilifi County, especially from Malindi sub-county.
Corona is real, and I want to tell you this. This corona visited my family. You know, as a leader, sometimes it's good to tell the truth to people so that they can take it positively or negatively. But as a leader, you must always stick to the truth. Mimi pale nyumbani, after some time, tulipata wageni wakakuja tukakaa nao. We didn't know that one of them had corona. And my family was affected. My wife and I actually got corona. And I stayed in the house for like 30 days. And it wasn't one of those good days. And one day I thought I would die. One day. Mmoja huu ugonjwa ulikuja ukanigonga mpaka ukaniangusha, nikaanza kutapika, nikafikiria mimi ndio safari imefanya nini? Imeanza. But I thank God. I didn't tell anyone, we didn't talk about it, but it's important that I tell you. There's a new surge, new wave inakuja. It's not a new wave. Now Malindi is one of the places that has been identified to have that spike. So I want to tell you as a church, we need to be on the forefront to take care of the congregations that we have and tell them the truth, that they need to take precaution. Namona mmenyamaza hivyo. Hii mambo ya maneno ni magumu. Hey, yes, I want to tell you the truth. I've never said this publicly, but today here I said it is right that I say it here in church.
A coast-based human rights organization, Haki Africa, has called for the postponement of the Msambweni by-election that had been slated for December 15th due to the rising cases of COVID-19 in the country. According to Haki Africa Executive Director Hussein Khalid, the irresponsible political activities within Msambweni are putting residents at high risk of contracting the virus. The organization now wants the mini-polls postponed until such a time when the coronavirus pandemic will have been fully dealt with.
And our concern, or rather our call, has been necessitated by the deteriorating COVID-19 pandemic situation in the country, which presently is referred to as the second wave. As an organization, we continue to see politicians irresponsibly violating the health regulations that have been set by the health ministry, which requires a maximum of only 200 people to attend gatherings. They violate these regulations, and by so doing, we continue to see rising numbers of COVID-19 infections being reported at the coast, and particularly in Msambweni and in Mombasa.
So much happens when a crisis comes. Most missionaries find themselves stepping up in such times as a way of responding to people's needs. However, in crises such as those that affect the entire globe, missionaries are usually left thinking on how to reach out to the most affected regions. Our reporter Faith Imani Mugo tells us what it takes doing Christian missions during crises, especially in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic.
The word missions has different meanings.
that can also be interpreted differently. For some people, when the word missions is mentioned, what comes into their mind is the thought of someone going to some remote areas or reaching out to people of different culture. But what exactly does it mean to do missions?
I always believed, which was not true, I always believed missions was moving out of the city, geographically leaving a place or going as Jesus commanded. But I realized that that is not true.
Missions would have two perspectives. Number one, what is biblical, what the Bible teaches, and secondly, what is in common practice. From a biblical understanding, mission is God's redemptive action. What God is doing to redeem humanity from sin, and not just humanity, but the rest of creation from the implications of sin. But when we come in church, the church tends to see mission as the activities they are doing. So if we hold both now together, we'll see that ideally mission is anchored towards redeeming humanity from sin. And then when the church involves itself into mission, then mission needs to be narrowed down to those activities, church activities that are directed towards a redeeming action.
Ideally, all Christians have been called to take part in the missions work. This would mean that the task of reaching out is not just for some individuals in church. Most believers will probably think of what is often called the Lord's Great Commission from the book of Matthew 28:18-20 in response to the question of doing missions. It is where Jesus Christ commands believers to make disciples.
Missions is basically making disciples of all nations, and to make disciples, first and foremost, you have to be a disciple. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot talk to people about a relationship with Jesus that you are not enjoying yourself. And so for me, what I understand as missions is really at the core of it relationships, or kingdom-minded relationships, as it were, that lead towards a commitment in believing and trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Redeeming is not just saving, it would also have the angle of dealing with systems and structures that are evil, unjust, corrupt, against the will of God. And they cause people to be subjected to a lifestyle outside the will of God.
Over the years, the work of missions has been viewed differently, with different situations posing different challenges on how ministry is being done. This then means the church and Christian believers in general need to step up and come up with ways of doing missions, despite the changes and challenges the missionaries face at any given time.
So we have individuals who sense a strong call of God to now detach themselves and go as missionaries. Now they become professional career missionaries. That is their full-time job. But perhaps they don't have a church to send. Including their own local church does not understand this. So many get discouraged and give up, but a few leave and go. So they go to the mission field, very difficult places, sometimes geographically, in weather, in terrain, but otherwise without substantive financial support, without prayer support, without social and emotional support. So they are struggling and grumbling and complaining, and rightfully so.
Redeemed through his infinite mercy.
Many churches have quickly reorganized their communities into online small groups, and this has seen a marked increase in the number of people connecting in this way. Because when the music fades, as the famous song suggests, the people should come back to the heart of what really matters, the people.
Crisis becomes such a strategic opportunity for Christians to be involved.
If we are to do missions in a season of crisis, we must remain relevant to the needs of the people. And your target audience is crucial. You need to understand your target audience. We need to realize that meeting people's needs will be the avenue. That is your vehicle to winning the soul. So if it's food, if it's financial resources, in these seasons of crisis, in this time where there's global pandemic, we need to be very careful about what are the immediate needs, because the immediate needs would ultimately pave the way to us reaching the spiritual and real needs of these individuals' hearts and lives.
Doing missions in crisis is always an opportunity missionaries have to spread the love of Christ. Pastor Nigel DeMello tells us some of the practical ways, together with his fellow missionaries, have taken in this time of COVID-19 pandemic to reach out to those in need of the gospel.
Because the COVID-19 pandemic struck, we moved to a virtual platform, and what was a very localized house fellowship of Indian youth or Indian Christian young people in my house in Parklands now expanded to reach Indian youth in Mombasa, Arusha, Tanzania, and in fact what started as 7 is now about 47 plus Indian young people all around the world. We have a Bible study fellowship every day. We're doing devotions on WhatsApp, and we have a Zoom meeting on Saturday. Another way that we have been relevant and remained true to our purpose of reaching the Indian community in Parklands is that quite simply, a lot of businesses, Indian businesses, have been put on hold. Some of them completely stopped. Their income and situation of finance has been deteriorated owing to the pandemic's effects, but through partnerships with organizations or parachurch organizations, they have mobilized resources on top of what we've been doing with the Bread of Life and providing food bags that are relevant to the target audience. So instead of ugali, which we would give to the Kenyans, we would put atta flour, which is what they make their rotis or their chapatis or their naans with. And we have been visiting them house to house, risking life and limb, even during this pandemic. Of course, observing all safety protocols and parameters as we do this.
Whilst opportunities of spreading the gospel are numerous, the church needs to know that its main mandate is to reconcile the world to God through the Great Commission given in Matthew 28:18-20. However, this is not without challenges.
We have individuals who sense a strong call of God to now detach themselves and go as missionaries. Now they become professional career missionaries. That is their full-time job. But perhaps they don't have a church to send. Including their own local church does not understand this. So many get discouraged and give up, but a few leave and go. So they go to the mission field, very difficult places, sometimes geographically, in weather, in terrain, but otherwise without substantive financial support, without prayer support, without social and emotional support. So they are struggling and grumbling and complaining, and rightfully so. But the question then comes in, how effective are they? They have no one to take care of them. They have families. They have no one to help them keep their families growing and enrichment, the things that the church is doing, because they were not properly sent. I would say that is the major challenge.
The 2007 Korean hostage crisis in Afghanistan was very difficult for Korean church, but it has not stopped Christian organizations from sending workers to the country. The fruit of the persistence in mission field is always evident.
Missions in its simplicity is relationships. Missions in its simplicity is one-on-one, life-on-life engagement. It's relationships with a kingdom agenda to saving faith.
The church exists for missions. That's to say, any church that is not credibly involved in missions means outside of itself. It is for the kingdom, not for ourselves. It is not for the expansion of our denomination necessarily. It is for the expansion of the kingdom of God. So any church that is not involved in that manner is threatening its own very identity as the Church of Jesus Christ.
It is clear and evident that mission work can still be done in crisis. As a church, we need to pray and support this important work given by God in order for the kingdom of God to profit. Faith Imani Mugo for Hope TV Newswatch.
Dunia ni mali ya Bwana na vyote vijazavyo.
Nguruwe ni mali ya Bwana au?
Ni mali ya Bwana.
Bata ni mali ya Bwana?
Ni mali.
Wewe kula basi. Acha mambo mengi.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Muislamu yoyote ambaye anamkataa Yesu, kwanza sisi tunamjua ni kafiri.
Bila huyu Yesu, mtu aendi kwa Baba.
Ungana na walimu wa neno wanapochambua masuala tata katika Biblia, wakiyalinganisha na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
Je, kuna ushahidi wowote Muhammad aliwahi ona Qur'ani? Na hii Qur'ani muliitoa wapi? Halo?
Piga simu moja kwa moja na pia uchangie kupitia SMS na Facebook.
Itawezekana kitabu cha Biblia ambaye mwanakiamini kuwa ni kitabu cha Mwenyezi Mungu ishindwe kumtabiri mtu ambaye ana wafuasi zaidi ya bilioni 100 duniani.
Je, Muhammad amekufa ama yuko hai?
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 2 hadi saa 4 ya usiku kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV. Events, news, Africa, the world, our past, our future. Catch all this and more on Africa's Moment with Pete Ondeng.
Is there really a future of hope for Africa? To believe or not to believe, that is the question. Who holds the key to Africa's escape from the dungeons of poverty and backwardness?
Every Wednesday, right here on Hope TV at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. A look at business news now. Pan-African Housing Development Financial Shelter Freak Board has approved the development of the Kinyinya Park Estate project, a 10,000 integrated and sustainable large-scale housing project in Kigali, Rwanda. The project is expected to cost approximately $400 million, out of which Southern Africa Trade and Development Bank has approved a facility worth $150 million to Shelter Freak to support the first two phases of the project. Shelter Freak Board Chairman Dr. Steve Mainda said the company is committed to its 2019-2023 strategic goals, which focuses on achieving both development impact on large-scale housing projects so as to achieve the creation of value for shareholders. Kakuzi PLC's troubles seem far from over after two more large European supermarket chains, Sainsbury's and Lidl, suspended its supplies, mounting more pressure on the listed firm. The two firms have suspended any dealings with Kakuzi, a Kenyan agricultural cultivation and manufacture company, pending investigations into the allegations of violence and murder. The actions by Sainsbury's and Lidl come days after Kakuzi's top management, led by Corporate Affairs Manager Wilson Odio, The denied claims of human rights abuse against 79 victims as filed by Lee Day at a London court. The suspension aggravates and pushes the future of the firm into dark times after Britain's largest supermarket, Tesco, temporarily dropped it as a supplier of avocados pending investigations 1 week ago. I look at sports news now. Harambee Stars coach Francis Kimanzi and his part of his backroom staff have resigned. A statement from the Football Federation, Football Kenya Federation (FKF) said that Kimanzi, assistant coach Zedekia Otieno, and goalkeeper trainer Lawrence Webo have left the national team on mutual consent. The federation thanked them for their exemplary work, dedication and professionalism, which has strengthened Kenya's chances of qualifying for the AFCON 2022 tournament. A replacement following their departure begins immediately. Kimanzi took over the national soccer team in August last year following the exit of Frenchman Sebastien Mignet, who he had deputized at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations finals in Egypt. West Brom and Burnley fought out for the Premier League's first goalless draw of the season Monday night. The pair remain winless in the league this season, with Burnley claiming their first point after 3 opening defeats, which is enough to lift them off the foot of the table. In another game of the night, Wolves won at Leeds United, moving them into 6th in the Premier League following a 70th minute deflected Raul Jimenez strike. Leeds have enjoyed an excellent start to their first top-flight season since 2004, and victory would have taken them into 3rd, but this first home defeat since February. With that, we come to the end of News Watch on this 57th Masjid Day. Thank you for your invaluable company here on Hope TV. We do this again tomorrow. I've been your anchor, Melisa Oduor. My sign language interpreter has been Bonface Mureithi. Have a restful evening.